Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's weekly service here on our Tri-Temple YouTube site. Today we're observing the monthly memorial for the month of April for the Monterey Peninsula Buddhist Temple. But we welcome all the viewers who are joining us for today's weekly service. I'd like to begin with an opening reading. If you'll please join me in Gasho. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is made up of our thoughts. If a person speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness shall follow, like a shadow that never leaves. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. And those who do not harbor such thoughts, hatred will cease. For hatred is not overcome by hatred. Hatred is overcome by love. This is an ancient rule. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. And now I'd like to ask you to please join me in the sutra chanting, beginning with the Sambujo, followed by the Hyobyakumon, a dedication reading. And this will be followed by the Sambutsuge and the Jusege. And as we chant the Sambutsuge and the Jusege, you'll see the names of family members and friends in Monterey who passed away in the month of April. I encourage all of you during that time to go before your home altar, your Butsudan, and offer incense. Namanda, 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 Namandos, 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 Namandos. Today, on this occasion of the Monterey Peninsula Buddhist Temple, April Shotsuki Hoyo, the members of the Sangha have reverently come before Amida Buddha in memory of the beloved family members. With deepest reverence and thankfulness for the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amida, we reaffirm the three homages. I go to the Buddha for guidance, I go to the Dharma for guidance, I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namu Kia Boots, Namu Kia Ho, Namu Kia Soul, Namman Navus, Namman Navus, Namman Navus.
滅症状糸が極経楽安の法部神妙税が神書発願の非力少々欲十法世尊知恵無下上領子孫知が神欲軽量神死諸君独中家業精進年中不敬阿言上聖願意志無常の死が不満足聖無常所が大無量の不意内摂取不採小便具聖無常所が那し成仏の妙所長十法苦行未消門聖無常所が利欲人少年上へ修言よ死具無常の異所天人死人力現代公部所無才道少女三具名五歳集約難海一恵言めし困難永息小悪道通達全宗門放送上満足清ら十法日月修十期天後音部言一周解放像公正功徳法上大集中説法四式空用異細物偶則修徳本願念出上満得意三害用如仏無下地通達未部小願学営力都市最小尊死が若か大聖の感動国小天人と珍妙系Namo Amida Butsu. Namo 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 Amida Butsu.
Thank you very much, everyone. Now, if you please join me in the Gatha Shinnan Sama. Hoyo kaze wataru asa no mado Atana Thank you. If you now, please join me in the reading of the threefold refuge. Difficult is to receive a human form, now we are living it. Difficult is to hear the Dharma of the Buddha, now we hear it. If we do not cross over to the truth in the present life, in what life shall we cross over? Let us with sincerity and true reverence take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we together with all sentient beings awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we together with all sentient beings enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we together with all sentient beings become units in true accord, in harmony with all things. The peerless, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Sankhya-mon, Ninjin kegatashi ima sudeni yoku, Buppo kihigatashi ima sudeni kiku, Kono mi konjo ni mukate dose zumba, Sarani izure no sho ni mukate ka kono mi wo dosen. Daishu morotomo ni shishin ni sambo ni kieshi tatematsuru beshi. Mizukara butsu ni kieshi tatematsuru. Masa ni negawaku wa shijo to tomo ni taido wo taige shite mujo yo kosan. Mizukara ho ni kieshi tatematsuru. Masa ni negawaku wa shijo to tomo ni fukaku kyozo ni irite chie umi no gotoku naran. Mizukara so ni kieshi tatematsuru. Masa ni negawaku wa shijo to tomo ni daishu wo tori shite isai muge naran. Mujo jinjin mimyo no ho wa yaku sen mango ni mo ayo koto katashi. Ore ima kenmon shi juji suru koto o etari. Negawaku wa nyurai no shinjitsu gyogeshi tatematsuran. Nammandavus, nammandavus. Nammandavus, 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 nammandavus. Once again, good morning, everyone. We're gathered for our regular Sunday service, and for our friends in Monterey, they are observing the Shotsuki Hoyo, or the memorial that we hold monthly in memory of those who have died in this month. Now, I would guess that everyone who has tuned in here today, and sometimes in their life had experienced the death of a loved one at some point or other. And for all of us, as we gather for this memorial service, we share in the continued sadness and the continued grief of being separated from someone that we love. And it's natural for us to long to be with that person again. This service is a time to not forget that our lives are due to a number of causes and conditions, and that our daily thoughts, our daily words and actions continue to be influenced by our loved ones who have passed away. This is the moment, this is the time for all of us to awaken to the great debt of gratitude we owe our loved ones. But also, we should know and be aware that their hearts and their minds have not abandoned us, have not forsaken us. Years ago, when I lived in Seattle, at the Betsuin there at our temple, we installed a large bonsho, a large bell, similar to the bell that you see in Salinas and in Watsonville. And the donation was received from the Numata family, and we proceeded to build the bell tower to house the bell. So once we completed the construction, every day at 5 o'clock we would ring the bell. And in the morning before special services, we would ring the bell. I recall one day driving to the temple and getting caught in a traffic jam due to an accident. So I was running a little bit late, and so as I was parking my car and hurrying off to the temple, I went to ring the large bonsho. As I began ringing the bell, I noticed that there was an elderly lady, an Issei lady. She was standing there and listening to the sound of the bell being rung. And I clearly recall the look of contentment and ease as she listened to the bell. I had seen her at services before, and she would always quietly sit in the temple with her hands together, and she would recite the Nembutsu, muttering in a low, quiet voice, Nam Mandaos, Nam Mandaos, Nam Mandaos. So after ringing the bell, I started to hurriedly run over towards the temple, which was across the street from the bell. As I passed this elderly lady, she bowed to me. So I stopped in my tracks and I returned her gesture and bowed back to her. All the while, in my mind, I was thinking about getting to the temple because I didn't want to be late. But before I could start running to the temple, she started talking to me. So, not wanting to be rude, I stopped and I listened to her. And she said something very interesting. She said that every time she hears the sound of the bonsho, it was really arigatai for her. Now, arigatai, it means a deep, deep, deep sense of gratitude. I was in a hurry, so I muttered something like, yes, the bonsho is the sound of the Buddha's voice reaching out to every one of us. And then I was ready to rush off again. But before I could start off again to the temple, she said, yes, but when I hear the bonsho ring, I know that the minister is at the temple. And I know that the minister is protecting the teachings of the Buddha. Now this comment made me stop in my tracks. It made me forget about rushing off to the temple. And so I said to her, yes, that it is very, very arigatai for me to hear you say that. Then she said to me, I am 83 years old. And she showed me her old, worn out nenju or ojuzu. And I noticed that this nenju was badly tattered. It was really old. The tassels, when brand new, would have been a bright orange, but now they were faded, light yellow color, a dirty peach color. And you could tell that she had repeatedly tied knots between the beads to hold it together. It was barely holding together. So I said to her, if you would let me and have the nenju or the ojuzu, I'd be happy to fix it for you. And she was very happy, very grateful. I told her, and I'll try to put new tassels on the nenju since the old ones are so tattered. She then quickly grabbed the nenju back and said, no, thank you. I asked her why, and that it was no trouble for me to fix her ojuzu. She then shared with me a story that I will never ever forget. When this lady was, 17 years old, that was 67 years ago when she told me this story, she left Japan as a picture bride, coming to the United States. Now, can you imagine a 17-year-old from a small country, from a little village in Japan, how she felt leaving her country, coming to this huge, unknown country like America? Can we imagine it? Can we imagine she didn't know the language, she didn't understand the customs, she didn't even know the man that she was going to marry. She must have felt terribly afraid and tremendously lonely. Well, when it was time for her to board the ship for America, her mother placed this very same nenju or juzu in her hand and tried to comfort her. This mother said to her daughter, whenever you are lonely, place this nenju around your hands. Put your hands together in gasho and say, Namo Amida Butsu, and you shall meet with mother's heart. Wow, this really sent chills through my body as I heard this. But then she continued to tell me that when she came here to the United States, she was quite overwhelmed, in fact, tremendously overwhelmed by the hard working conditions, the language, the customs, and of course, she was afraid, she was lonely for the comfort and the warmth of her mother. So she remembered that ojuzu that her mother had given her, and placed it in her hands. And she did put her hands together in gasho. This brought comfort, but that comfort wasn't lasting. And soon, again, she began to feel lonely and afraid. At first, she thought, and she truly believed, that there was some power inside that ojuzu. But later, she began to realize and feel that her mother had either deceived her or had lied to her. For no matter how many times she held that nenju, no matter how many times she did gasho, she was still lonely and afraid. And then, she said, one day, she again remembered her mother's words. Whenever you are lonely, place this ojuzu around your hands, gasho, and say Namo Amida Butsu, and you shall meet with mother's heart. All this time she had thought and she had felt that there was power in the nenju, or the ojuzu, and she forgot what her mother had said. And say Namo Amida Butsu. And so she went to the temple to seek out, to find out the meaning of Namo Amida Butsu. And so for years and years, she attended the temple. She listened constantly to the minister's talks on Nembutsu and Namo Amida Butsu. And that is why she had said that it's arigatai whenever she hears the bonsho. Because through the minister who is at the temple, she was able to hear the beautiful and profound teachings of Namo Amida Butsu. If the minister is present at the temple, then the teachings are being protected. And through teachings, she fully understood and experienced what her mother had said. and it gave her great joy. Through the teachings of Namo Amida Butsu, this elderly lady knew and experienced the fact of the continuing karmic influences of her mother's life. And these influences were constantly visible in her daily thoughts, words, and actions. For this reason, this simple Nenju, worn and tattered, represented her mother's true heart. And each time she put her hands together in Gasho and recited the Nembutsu, she was eternally touching mother's heart, the true heart and mind of her mother. And she was able then to experience that which is fundamental in her life, knowing that her mother's heart and mind had never abandoned nor forsaken her. For all of us, we too can discover this wonderful, truly beautiful teachings of Namo Amida Butsu and find and experience what is fundamental in our lives, that our family members who we lost, who we love so much, never abandon us, never forsake us. But in Namo Amida Butsu, we discover the never-ending influence of our loved ones. It is to know and experience the power of Namo Amida Butsu. It is to live the joy of Amida's great and compassionate heart. Thank you very much. And now, if you please, bow your heads and listen to the letter of Denyo Shonin on the teachings of the Shonin. Shonin Nichiryu no Gokanki no Onomuki wa Shinji no Motte Honto Serare Solo Sono Yue wa Moro Moro no Zogyo Nage Stete Isshin ni Mida ni Kimyo Surewo 不可思議の眼力として文の方より往生は事情せしめたもそのくらいを一年後期入賞上始終とも釈しその上の称名年度と如来我が往生定めたまいし御法人の年度と心べきなりあなかしこあなかしこ何万ダブス何万ダブス Shinran Shonin taught that the essence of Jodo Shinshu is Shinjin. The reason is that by abandoning all of the practices and completely entrusting ourselves in Amida Buddha, our spiritual rebirth is assured by Amida through the inconceivable power of the primal vow. This is known as entering the ranks of the truly assured at the very moment of Shinjin. Thereafter, all utterances of the Nembutsu should be understood only as expressions of gratitude for Amida's assurance of our spiritual rebirth. With reverence, I remain. Nam Mandabas, Nam Mandabas, Nam Mandabas. Nam Mandabas, Nam Mandabas, Nam Mandabas, Nam Mandabas. Thank you very much, everyone. Before we close today, I'd like to share with you a few announcements. Next week, the Dharma School, or Dharma Youth Program, will have a service on Zoom. So those of you who are in the Dharma School age, please contact your Dharma School rep for the Zoom information. That's Sunday, April 25th at 10 o'clock in the morning. At the same time, the Salinas Buddhist Temple April Shotsuki Hoyo service will be streaming on the Tri-Temple YouTube site. Again, Sunday, April 25th at 10 o'clock a.m. In May, we celebrate the birthday of Shinran Shonin, our founder. This will be a combined Coast District event. All of our Coast District ministers will participate in conducting this service. Our special guest speaker will be Reverend Grant Ikuta of the Stevenston Buddhist Temple in Vancouver, Canada. That is Sunday, May 16th at 10 a.m. And now for those of you who are playing bingo, I'd like to share with you this week's bingo numbers. First number is I-16. I-16. The next number is B-11. B-11. The third number, N-35. N-35. The fourth number, O-61. O-61. And the fifth number is B1. B1. Good luck. If you do get bingo, please contact the Watsonville Buddhist Temple office. The last announcement I'd like to make today is about our virtual play, The Betrayed. This will happen on May 22nd at 1 o'clock. It is a virtual play about two young people at Tule Lake who fall in love and then find themselves on opposing sides of the controversial loyalty question. The play was written by Hiroshi Kashiwagi. It's a two-part play. The second part of the play is where this young couple then come together again some 40 years later, find reconciliation, forgiveness, and hope. Mr. Kashiwagi wrote this play in the hopes that people would learn about the internment, about this controversial loyalty question, and how there is hope and reconciliation in understanding the true nature of these questions. So I hope you'll be able to join us. There'll be a wonderful discussion following the play. It is again on May 22nd, 2021, 1 o'clock. You can purchase tickets on eventbrite.com. Search for The Betrayed, and please support us and join us on May 22nd. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Please join me in the Gatha, Ondok-san 2. Let us cease from wrath and refrain from angry looks, nor let us be resentful when others differ from us. For all human beings have hearts, and each heart has its own leanings. Their right is our wrong, and our right is their wrong. We are not unquestionably sages, nor are they unquestionably fools. Both of us are simply ordinary human beings. How can anyone lay down a rule by which to distinguish right from wrong? For we are all, one with another, wise and foolish, like a ring which has no end. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much, everyone. This will conclude our services for today. I look forward to seeing you again next week In the meantime, please stay healthy, stay safe, be aware of your surroundings, and please always take care. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.